Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's get right into it. Estonia versus Moldova. Now, anyone can have a gut feeling about this one, right? But we're going to push all that aside and let the cold, hard data do the talking. So let's see what the numbers are really telling us.
And there it is, 1-0. According to a ton of historical data, this is the single most likely final score. Now, I know what you're thinking, how can we be so specific? Well, it's not a guess. It's the end result of a really fascinating process, and I'm going to walk you through every single step.
So how do we land on a 1-0 prediction with this much confidence? Well, it's basically a two-step dance. First, we look at the current betting odds to get a feel for what the market is expecting. Then, and this is the cool part, we use that profile to find hundreds of past games that looked exactly the same. Let's start with those odds.
Right, the odds. Think of these as our first set of clues. They're not just about gambling. They give us a really clear snapshot of the expected story of the match, who's likely to win, and even how many goals we can expect.
Okay, so take a look at this table. Two numbers here are super important. First, you've got Estonia as the clear favorite to win at home, right? Odds of 2.05. But then, look down at total goals under 2.5. The odds are just 1.70. That's really low, which tells us the market is screaming this is going to be a low-scoring game.
And that specific combo is our magic key. A favorite, but not a massive one, playing in a game that's expected to be tight and low-scoring. This unique profile is what lets us dive into the history books to find other matches that had this exact same pregame setup.
Okay, so now we move from what the market thinks will happen to what actually happened in the past. This is where our prediction really gets its legs.
And we're not just talking about a handful of games here. The analysis is built on a really solid foundation of about 920 past matches from all over the world that fit this exact betting profile. A home favorite with odds right around 2.05 and a game expected to have under 2.5 goals.
And boom, here's what happened in those 920 games. A 1-0 win for the home team was the most common result by a pretty clear margin, happening in a quarter of all those matches. You can see it's comfortably ahead of the next most likely score, which is a 1-1 draw.
So let that sink in. When a game is set up just like this one, it ends 1-0 a quarter of the time. This is the single strongest signal we have from the historical data about what that final score is going to be.
But the final score is just the end of the story. How do we get there? What's the game actually going to feel like? Well, the first half data from our 920 matches paints an even clearer picture.
Now, this is really interesting. In over 40% of these games, it was 0-0 at halftime. That strongly suggests a cagey, tight first half, where both teams are feeling each other out. It tells us that if goals are coming, they're probably coming later in the game. This table breaks down the flow of the game even more. The most common scenario, happening over 41% of the time, is 1-1. That means Estonia is winning at halftime and they hold on to win. But look at that second line, X/1. That means it was a draw at the half and then Estonia went on to win. That happens almost 28% of the time.
And this insight is absolutely crucial. It ties everything together perfectly, right? We've already seen that a 0-0 halftime is super common, and this shows us that it often leads to, you guessed it, a 1-0 final score. A second half goal from Estonia isn't just a possibility, it's a very strong statistical probability.
So let's put it all together. What does this mountain of data actually mean for you? How can we turn all these numbers into a clear, understandable strategy for watching the game? Let's break down the key takeaways.
Here's a simple three-level way to think about it. First, your main prediction, the bullseye, is a 1-0 correct score. If you want to bet on the story of the game, the data points to a draw at halftime, Estonia to win at full-time. And if you just want the safest bet that backs up everything we've seen, it's simply total goals under 2.5.
And if you're looking for a few other data-backed ideas, well, a 2-0 win for Estonia isn't out of the question. It's the third most common outcome, happening over 16% of the time. And given that huge 40% chance of a 0-0 halftime, a bet on first half under 0.5 goals also makes a whole lot of sense.
So in the end, the data gives us an incredibly clear roadmap of what's most likely to happen. But that's the beauty of the game, isn't it? It's unscripted. This analysis tells you the story that has played out most often in this exact situation. But we'll all have to wait for that final whistle to find out if this match decides to follow the script.